Hello, North Florida Blue Chip Division. My name is Matt King, and I am the proud division manager of the mighty North Florida team. And I'm coming at you guys today for a workshop on recommendations. And so, first things first, I just want to say if you're watching this video right now, that really, in my mind, means that you're committed to success, right? And taking that step, as you continue to take those types of steps while you're with us, will pay off. It's one of the things that I loved about the position as a sales representative, because what you put in will be exactly what you get out. It's very similar to a sport. I played baseball in college, football in high school as well. And, it's funny when I'd work on certain things, techniques or so, to help my game improve, it would pay off during the game. And the same thing happens when it comes to any aspect of your vector business. If you're watching this video, you're probably newer in the business and you're ready to tackle recommendations. And I'm so excited to give you some goods today. I will also say that if you get an opportunity to get an invitation to an SLDM event, I'll even dive deeper into these topics. I'll also, or a conference this summer, take advantage of it, right? Because once again, what you put in is what you get out, right? You improve your skills, your income improves, your experience improves, everything else follows. So I do want to go ahead and walk through what it takes to truly master recommendations. As a sales representative, I sold a lot of Cutco. At the end of my career selling Cutco, I had over 7,000 recommendations, and it was very rare not to get at least 10 recommendations on every single appointment. Okay, and I want to really teach you how to make 10, the minimum standard for yourself. Now, sure, once in a while, out of every 20 appointments, you probably have one or two that won't give you 10, but then you'll have several that give you 15, 20, 25, and it averages out. But you should at least be averaging 10 recommendations. We have hundreds of representatives that have gotten that done. And the cool thing about recommendations is that it's one of the easiest things to get good at. I am going to ask as I go through the video that you participate with me as we go through this, because I want to make sure that you get the most out of it and that you leave this video more prepared to really crush recommendations and get more than you can handle. So the first thing, and I have 4 main points that we're going to dive into. Number one, everybody, is the mindset. Okay, and I really find that this is where some representatives feel like they just don't quite get it there mentally at the beginning of their careers. Maybe they feel that they've already made a sale and they're asking for more. The way we got to look at recommendations, everybody, is it's like a tip, right? It's like you did a good presentation, right? When the server does a good job, you give them a tip at the end of the meal. You still buy your food, right? But then your tip is, the 15, 20, 25% that you give the server depending on how good the service was. Well, you got to think, why should people give you recommendations? Well, there's 2 main reasons. Number one, they like you, right? Number 2, they like Cutco. So as long as you cut up food, you cut penny, you cut rope and leather, you're likable, by the way. Rapport is really important there. Asking lots of questions, taking an interest in them, not talking about you as much. 80, 90% about them, asking them questions, 10, 20% about you. That really is critical, okay? So you've got to expect it. Now, the other thing, everybody, is that I find that sometimes new representatives, they don't follow the approach at first, and then they only get like 3, 4, or 5, and then it hurts their confidence, right? So when they get to the end, they're almost expecting to not get 10, right? Because they haven't gotten it before, or they rarely got it before. You really have to change that mindset up. If you looked at all of your friends on Facebook, all of your friends on your phone, you add that up, there's hundreds of people in most cases out there. Guys, we're looking for 10 to 20. Okay, that's it. It's not a big deal. What's cool is that even if somebody just moved here, they still have people from where they used to live, right? And we have virtual presentations. Very easy to do appointments anywhere nowadays. So there's really nobody, unless they're a hermit that lives on an island, has no phone or internet, that doesn't at least know 10 or 20 people, period. Okay? So just understand that. Mindset is important, right? Now, the second thing, everybody, is you got to always go to the presentation prepared. Okay, you got to get prepared when you get ready to ask for recommendations. I think a few things that matter. Really important that you have your binder set up. Okay, you have your binder ready to go. What do I mean by that? Well, maybe you heard your manager say this, but I really want to ask you, is your binder perfectly set up? Meaning you only have people that have given you 10 or 20 in the front of the binder, okay? Anybody that gave you 7, they gave you 8, they gave you 3, those need to go face down in the back of your binder. That's why it's so important to have a binder. You don't have a binder, you're automatically giving yourself less recommendations, right? Binders are so cheap. They could be in your closet, dusty from elementary school, but get a binder if you don't have one, super important. And then make sure you set up the binder. Now, on the sheets, you always want to highlight the number 10 line and the number 20 line in a yellow or pink, a bright highlighter, okay, on the ones that have already been filled out, and then on your blank sheets, 10 and 20, 10 and 20. Just draw a line, draw a line. What that does is gives the customer a target. All right, so very, very important that you get prepared that way. Also, as you're going through, the reason is you want to flip the book towards the customer, lay it on the table, and as you're flipping, you want them to be seeing these 10s and 20s. What does that do? Well, it's the same reason that, they have a tip jar at a restaurant. If they're not serviced, but they have a tip jar up front, and they usually put some dollars and 5s and maybe a 10, not just coins, because, they want to show that people give tips, right? Well, this is your tip, and you want to show that, hey, you get lots of tips, okay? It's a no big deal. Everybody gives recommendations. I want you to act like you've gotten 10 recommendations on every single appointment. How confident would you be when you ask, right? And getting prepared is really going to give you even more confidence. So getting prepared is big. Now, when you get ready to ask for recommendations, okay, very important, and this is where I see some new representatives, trip up because they're so excited that they made a sale that when the customer says yes, they write up that order, okay? Well, you want to hold off and you want to wait, all right, and ask for recommendations, then write up the order, okay? You always want to ask for recommendations before you write up the order. It's another stumbling block that I see people fall into, because then you're sitting there all done, you're packed up, orders written, and they're writing, which makes them feel rushed. Okay, so you always ask before you write up the order. That way, while you're writing, they're writing. While you're cleaning, they're writing. Okay, very simple there. All right, now, going into the approach, okay, third point here. So we have so far mindset, being prepared, okay? Third thing is reviewing the approach the right way, okay? You want to go word for word, all right? I want you to understand the approach works to a charm. There are certain areas, I'm going to review this as I walk through the approach here in a second and teach you the nonverbals, right? There's certain words that can literally eliminate recommendations, right? They can crush the amount of recommendations you get, and you can't change it up. So if you know you're creative, you got to make sure you memorize it. Even if you're creative, that doesn't mean that you change up the national anthem or you change up the Pledge of Allegiance, right? You do it the way that it was written because that's the way it is. That's how we have to look at the recommendation approach. You can't be close. We got to be right on it, all right? So really important there. So keep that in mind. The recommendation approach works to a T. Literally follow it to a T because one word can mess it up. All right, the fourth thing, everybody, is the nonverbals. And as I go through nonverbals, I'm going to walk through the approach and everything. But I'm going to ask you a little bit to step out of your comfort zone a little bit, okay? The reason is that, Vector really is a vehicle, okay? And no matter what you want to do in life, there are so many foundational things that you can take away from this job if it's not a career for you like it has been some, right, which most of you won't be, but you want to take things away beyond just the paychecks. The paychecks are great. It's awesome to make good money, but it's even better to have things that are going to carry you through to be a champion and whatever else you do when you leave. And their communication skills is one of those things. Okay, I always talk about this. I preach this because you'll find that most leaders in any field are the best communicators, the best teachers, doctors, lawyers, engineers, business people, right? I mean, the nurses that run the ER, they're great communicators, right? You want to learn how to develop your communication skills here so that way, you can use them in other places, Okay, keep that in mind. And so nonverbal communication is 55% of the way we communicate. So if we literally just do the approach, right, tonality is 38%, we're communicating at an effectiveness of 7%. So do you want to be 100% or 7? I think that's a pretty easy answer. So follow along with me. That's what I'm going to ask. As I go through, I really want you to do it exactly the way I am. Even if you feel a little uncomfortable, that's okay. Even if you're just sitting in the office watching the video, do it out loud with me, okay? All right, why? Because thinking it doesn't help you memorize it, right? Saying it out loud and doing the nonverbals the same way I do is going to really help you own this thing, so that way you get as many recommendations as you want, okay? All right, so going through the approach with you. If you have your approach out, should be on page 15 in your manual, okay? You get ready to go to the end. And I always like to open up, hey, Miss Jones, before I clean up the order, I did have one more question, okay? And just kind of open it up like that. And then you go into the approach. So, Mrs. Jones, do you remember the $150 sponsorship I was telling you about earlier? And guys, as you do it, you want to give like a, yeah, do you remember that nod? Some people are really stiff and they give this weird looking nod. Hey, here's the deal. It's chin up, right? A couple inches, chin down. Hey, do you remember the $150 sponsorship I was telling you about earlier? Okay, well, there's one more, head up, very important part. See, look at the difference. There's one more very important part. There's one more very important part. So one more very important part. There's one more very important part. Here's where you can really help me out. So head up on can. Here's where you can really help me out. See, look at the difference. Here's one more very important part. Here's where you can really help me out. There's one more very important part. Here's where you can really help me out. Guys, the nonverbal shows the emphasis and the importance. Are recommendations important to you? Is a tip important to a server? Heck yeah, but they need to feel it from you, and they feel it when you use nonverbal communication, okay? All right, so then the next line is, I get paid every time I show Cutco, and I can only call people I've been personally recommended to. There's nothing to that line, just say it, all right? So, comma, pause, what I need you to do, not what you might be able to do, not what you could possibly do, but what I need you to do while I'm cleaning up is jot down 2 to 300 people. Okay? Now it's 2 to, everybody say that with me, 2 to, you want to think you're going to say 2 to 3, and you go 2 to, and this is the only time I break eye contact for a split second. I go 2 to 300 people. See, guys, you don't want to be asking, hey, do you remember the $150 sponsorship I was talking about earlier? Well, there's one more very important part here so you can really... Guys, looking down or looking away doesn't show confidence, and you want to have perfect eye contact here. If you're somebody that doesn't feel comfortable with eye contact, look at the forehead. It's an old tip I learned. You just stare at the forehead, they think you're looking them dead in the eye, and you can feel comfortable through the process, okay? But don't use that as an excuse not to get a ton of recommendations, because guess what? You get a ton of recs, you're going to be here all summer, you're going to hit Dirty 30 and beyond, really experience the Vector opportunity to the fullest, and it starts with recommendations. So, once again, what I need you to do, not what I would like and maybe you hopefully could possibly, no wimpy words. So what I need you to do while I'm cleaning up is jot down 2 to 300 people and hold it, right? Don't ruin the joke. Don't tell the punchline before they get it. So 2 to 300 people. No, I'm just kidding. Just 10 to 20 that might be nice enough to help me out. Now you notice there, right? It says 2 to 300 people, and then you say just 10 to 20. You don't add the word people after 10 to 20. It's just 10 to 20 because we want 10 to 20 to look like nothing. 10 to 20 is a joke, okay? So just 10 to 20 that might, not that would, not that will, not that could, right? That might. Because here's the deal. People are busy. But I want busy people because they're usually busy taking care of kids or working. And those are the type of people I definitely want to show Cutco to. And we have flexible schedules. We can work it around. So 10 to 20, that might be nice enough to help me out. Now, I'm not necessarily looking for people to buy. Just people nice like you to take a look. And the way the sponsorship works. And when you get to this line, everybody, you want to get excited. You want them to feel like, man, this is a really cool thing that their company does for them, which it is, right? You win this a couple times throughout the summer. That pays for books for the fall. That's less money you or your parents or whoever or a loan that you have to take out, right? So you want to rock and get 10 recs like it's nothing so you can win this thing multiple times. So get excited, right, when you talk about it. You don't have to know the way the sponsorship works, right? Now, the way the sponsorship works, look at my eyes. It's like, holy crap, this is awesome. Right? Now, the way the sponsorship works is every 50 sponsors I get, watch my head, the company gives me $150. $150. $150. I need you to do it like that. $150. Okay? Or the Cutco that I can sell to pay for books or whatnot at school. And all. So, and all. Do that with me. And all you have to do to be a sponsor is just. Right? Look at the difference. And all you have to do to be a sponsor is just get to the first level of 10. And all you have to do to be a sponsor is just get to the first level of 10. And if you get to 20, you can be a double sponsor and count twice. So here's my pen, and turn the book around, lay it right in front of the customer, flip past your 10s. Let's jot. Here's a pen and sheet of paper. Hey, just write down as many as you can. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help. Now at the end, everybody, you want to go, thank you so much. I really appreciate your help. Look at the difference. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help. Guys, what happens is they'll start nodding their head. They take your book and boom, they start writing. Okay? Very, very simple. Now, the next step, everybody, is very simple. As they're writing down names, right, if they start slowing down, you just go, hey, what helps a lot of people, is maybe using something to help them out, like an address book or a cell phone, just anybody that works and eats. Okay? And they'll grab other things to help them think of more people than just what's in the top of their head. Okay? Very, very important. All right, now, then when you get finished and you give them some ideas, you want to give them some ideas. Hey, a big question, who do you know at home during the day? Right? For me, I wanted to get daytime recommendations. I had baseball practice at nights, and so, at first I did a lot of evening appointments, but then I started asking that question while they were writing. By the way, who do you know at home during the day? Not do you know anybody, but who do you know? Okay? Very important question. It's in your manual, but use it, right? So that's an important one. Also, hey, by the way, who do you know lives in blank area? If there's certain sides of town that you want to do appointments, always ask who do they know that lives in that area, because then that thought jogs and helps them come up with more people. So very, very important there. So give them some thought joggers, okay? All right, if they're having a hard time, what helps a lot of people. That way you don't direct pressure on them. When you say what helps a lot of people, that deflects pressure off the customer and says, hey, here's what a lot of people do that helps them out. It's like an address book or a cell phone. I bet if you use that, you can get to 10. Okay, real simple. Give them a little nod. Get to 10. Okay? All right, so a couple of things there. Then, everybody, you always want to qualify, right? This is in your manual, right? But who's married, right? What area of town? That way you're not going all over the place doing appointments. You can do them all on this side of town this day, or this half a day, all on this side of town the other half a day, or all on this side of town that day. And that way you're not going all over the place. You have all your appointments, and when you set one up on one side of town, you'll end up calling the people that live on that side of town. Okay, very simple. All right, so very, very important there. Also, right, relationship. When you call to set appointments, they're very easy to set, but you do need to know how they know each other. Are they a coworker? Are they a neighbor? Right? If you called me and said, hey, Matt, I was over to see your friend Charlotte the other day, and Charlotte's my sister, you would throw me off, and I'd be like, oh, well, you obviously don't know because Charlotte loves me, right? She would have said, oh, my brother, you got to call him, and then, you would have been able to say, hey, I was over to see your sister Charlotte. So to make the phone time very easy in the future, you need to know the relationship, right? That's super important, okay? And then the other one is who's home during the day. So if you need daytime slots and you put a D next to those people, right, boom, you call your daytime people for daytime appointments. If you do that on a regular basis, you're going to rock it out. The last thing I do is always say, now, if you had my job, who'd be the ones that you would, call first, right? Who do you think, could get the whole set if they wanted it, right? Boom, put a star next to the ones that you like, that are the best. And now you have your D's and your stars are the first people you call when you're making appointments. Obviously, daytime matters because if they're home during the day, they're using the knives more, right? And a lot of times, because they're cooking more, they're having lunch at home every day instead of at work, okay? So real important that you want to get as many of those as possible, all right? So everybody, those are a few tips on recommendations. Now what you want to do is match it with a partner and a system manager, and you want to go line by line, okay? And what the system manager or partner should do is you're going to do one line, right? Hey, do you remember the $150 sponsorship I was telling you about earlier? Well, there's one more very important part. Here's you can really help me out. Okay, so let's just pause there. So you would do one line. You would say, now, do you remember the $150 sponsorship I was telling you about earlier? Now your partner is going to do the same thing. Okay, then the first partner will go, well, there's one more very important part. Here's you can really help me out. And then the next partner is going to start from the beginning and go, hey, do you remember the $150 sponsorship I was telling you about earlier? Well, there's one more very important part. Here's you can really help me out. Then the first partner is going to say, well, I get paid every time I show Cutco, but I can only call people that I've been personally recommended to. And then the second partner is going to go, hey, do you remember the $150 sponsorship? And then you're going to go line by line where one partner does one line, the other partner does up into that line, until they have the whole thing down. Then you switch and you have your partner do it. And by the time you get finished, as long as your binder's ready to roll, you ask before you clean up. Now you know the approach with the head nods and the nonverbals. You're going to rock recommendations. You're going to get more than you've ever got. Expect to get them, everybody. They're super simple, but you got to have the mastery that I just taught you down, which is real easy to get down, especially now that you're at the workshop to really improve your skills. Thank you so much. And just so you know, I dive in on a lot of this stuff along with extras that we don't have time for during this workshop, but you'll learn at SLDMs or any of the summer conferences. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you being a part of the North Florida Blue Chip Division. We're building something great right now, and it's great to have you be a part of it. So have a phenomenal day, and I'll talk to you soon.